the same retention that a lot of the units that both Stephano had.
Great point. Yeah, you were so right in that. He was not able to use the ghosts as efficiently.
Yeah.
That's a lot of resources spent, a lot of barracks build time as well.
Yeah. So let's introduce our players here in the southwest position as the Red Zerg. He lost game 1, but won game 2. What's going to happen in game 3? It is Millennium Stephano. And up here in the northeast position as the Blue Terran, I got to say, I think he's going to be out for blood, but this should be a good one. It is Slayer's Ryung.
Indeed, man. This is such a cool map because the way that this map gets played is frustrating for Zergs, but there's a lot of harassment potential. Infestor play works here. Mutalisk play is something that we used to see on this map, but the style has kind of changed, so I don't think we're going to see that. I mean, it's Stephano after all. He does not show a proclivity to getting Mutalisk. He loves his double upgrade style with Infestors. The macro hatch before the third. He likes to keep his units cost efficient, and that's something we really, really saw, I mean, unbelievably last game. If you do a big attack as a Zerg with Infestors and you lose all of your Infestors, you have to remake those. You can't just be like, well, that's unfortunate. I guess I'm going to play it for a little while without Infestors and use my gas for upgrades. No, if you lose those Infestors, you have to remake them. That's a ton of gas.
That's a ton of gas, and it's a lot of build time, too. And I mean, I think it's a great point just to see what happened with the Infestors in Game 1. I think about those 2 poor Infestors that were in the middle of the map where he could have just dumped some infested Terrans on top of them, but then the missile turrets went up. You know, just every single aspect of that, or every single scenario where that did happen and he lost them, that really put him back. But as you mentioned, there were not. Remember the first 2 Infestors that popped out that stopped that drop in the main? I mean, like, the timing was impeccable there for Stephano, and the retention was even better. So I think that will be just as important in this game as it always is. And, you know, Stephano definitely improved that over Game 1.
You're right. We do see gas going down here for Stephano. After pool, he did go hatch first, and in fact, we see the same build coming up for Ryung again in all 3 games, going for the 1 racks, expand. The Overlord will be warded off here, and he's going to drop that command center down. There it is. It does get spotted just barely.
Yeah, that was perfect for him, too. And here we go. The poll results are in for the Xperia Sony smartphone poll. And look at that, 93% in favor of Ryung.
Oh my God.
And, of course, I think the numbers might have gone up a lot after that first game. But if the polls remained open, it might actually swing back in favor of Stephano. But he only had 7%. You know, he wants to prove those pollers wrong.
That's like
voters wrong.
That's like the craziest results I've ever. I expected it to be maybe the other way around, but probably like at least 70-30 in Stephano's favor. That's really interesting to see what you guys really thought.
I don't know.
That's really interesting.
I don't know what to say. Well, that was definitely a bit surprising for me. I thought at least it would be split, but. We got a quick correction here, actually. It was 93% for Stephano, 7% for Ryung. So, all right, we knew that your Stephano fans were out there.
I was like that. I mean, I really like Ryung, and he has his fans too. But oh my God,
we'd be like, where did this huge following come from? But you know, he's still a great player.
It must have been the ghosts. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like he made a nuke. Oh yeah.
Well, at this point, we see him doing literally the exact same build, like cookie cutter style here. The reactor's going down to the factory after he double gassed with his 1 racks expand. And Stephano has continued mining gas fully. He's actually mined about 50 gas additionally here, and he's kept all 3 drones inside. So this could mean potentially wants to end the game early. Oh, especially with this second gas going up at this timing. Will he make the hatch after he kills this? Okay, he will make it. So that was the telling point there, because he could have faked the hatch and then gone for some big aggression, but it turns out he's just going to be playing very similarly to how he did last game. Getting the extra gas up really allows him to do that double upgrade style that we've seen from him, because with the style like this, you actually are fine with a little bit less minerals and getting that early gas. Getting the Roach Warren just like before, and we are basically seeing the 2 same builds butt heads again.
Yeah,
I mean, wow, he gets in here.
He does. He's going to get taken out by those Hellions quite nicely. But and I love what Apollo said about, you know, Stephano breaking down how Ryung was playing, and it is kind of an interesting decision because you have to sit there and say, there might be that open window for me to like easily take this third game. But at the same time, you've got to know that it would have to be impeccable in every way. It would just have to be flawless and perfect. And versus a player like Slayer's Ryung, you know, the chances of that happening, him to be able to stop it or just minimize the damage and then easily recover, I think is quite high. So we do see Stephano, though, reacting in a similar way to what he did in the last game, where he gets the Roach Warren down pretty early. He's going to get these 9 Roaches out, and he will save this third. And
I think maybe he's got 20 uses.
Oh, he just made 16 lead. He's going to go for it.
He's going to go for a Baneling attack. He's just going to use that hat trick for extra production. It's a total fake right now. He does show 6 Roaches, though. I'm not sure if I like that. If he just moved out with the 3 and kept that hidden from his opponent a little bit, this might have a lot more chance of working. But look at the top of the map. He's sitting his Zerlings around a hidden path. He's trying to keep as much of this unknown to his opponent as possible. Ryung is not reacting. He's not making additional bunkers. This all-in could potentially work.
Uh-oh, and he's going to see a lot of Lings here, and that's got to say, what's going on here? Now, the Baneling nest has finished up. Already 10 Banelings are morphing in, and he's going to do exactly what Apollo said he might be able to do. Yeah. Here comes a lot of units. The Roach is going to be brought back.
2 more bunkers
here come the Banelings
going up, but they're too late, I think. He is in a lot of trouble. The first bunker falls. A few additional Banelings hitting those SCVs. The unit's forced up the ramp here. These bunkers are not going to complete. He needs to start bunkers on the high ground if he wants to hold this. He double cancels here. And Stephano actually, will he continue to press the issue? He does have that third hatchery. Double Evolution Chambers, goes home. I have never seen this executed quite like this.
You know, and that's all he had to do. You know, he took out so many supply depots. He took out all the defense at the front. He's probably going to clean up all these Hellions right here as these Lings swing in and get the job done. And that's also putting Ryung like kind of in a defensive posture. Like, can I go out yet? Is it okay? He has dropped it down. He's thrown a couple of mules down. But he's got to be thinking, okay, that really kind of set me back a little bit. Now, he's certainly not out by any means. I do not think he lost. He did lose a few SCVs, but, you know, nothing that could be truly devastating. I think the biggest was probably losing those supply depots, losing that defense at the front, and having to cease his production just for a little bit.
He was just pushed back up the ramp for a little while.
Yeah.
I mean, literally everything he had was pushed up the ramp. He lost everything on the low ground. It was almost like that mission on the campaign where, like, the lava comes up. You have to, like, lift everything up. Like, he lost everything that he left behind, but he still saved the core of what was necessary for him. Nice control there by Ryung catching that Overlord. But Stephano from here now feels comfortable. He kept the army alive that he had, so he didn't have to spend gas on remaking that. He didn't really lose anything with that push. He only gained. He didn't gain a ton, but he gained. And now he's got the double upgrades going far ahead of Ryung. He's got his lair finishing up here. He is looking really, really good wheat at this point.
And a remarkable scout coming out here by Stephano as he does send it out. Is something potentially coming here? And, you know, this could be pretty damaging if he was not ready for it. But I think that Stephano is going to be quite ready for it as he sets up and spreads out his Roaches on the front. The 2 medevacs finally coming in. It could set Ryung up to a position where he might be able to drop. But I just really feel like Stephano is set up too nice defensively here, and he can't push the issue either. If he loses too much, then the exact same thing can happen again, and here we go. Looks like he might go for it. Slow Banelings.
He's trying to bait him onto the creep a little bit, but now he's got enough. He's going to catch these units, and if those Banelings connect, great pickup by Ryung. If he had not done that, things could have gone way out of hand. Remember, the upgrades are a little bit better for Stephano. He has +1 armor, whereas the +1 armor is only about a 1/4 of the way done here for Ryung, but you're right, man. He was so prepared. He had the units at the top of the ramp with a concave. This drop did a little bit of damage, but he just reacted so quickly.
Yeah.
It didn't matter in the end. He's been able to keep these Roaches alive. He had some Banelings left over from before. He's now going to have Roach speed. He's got 2-2 on the way, way ahead of Ryung. And these are the little things that can really get you ahead as a Zerg player. From that, that first attack didn't end the game. It didn't do a ton of damage. He didn't kill a bunch of SCVs, but now these 1-1 upgrades are actually helping him kill these Marines. It just is.
I mean, you know, that was another great trade for Stephano. We have a drop yet again, and it looks like Sporecrawler will go ahead and send that out. But, I mean, again, he hasn't really been making Roaches. He's got his Infestors coming out, and I'll tell you what, if one single fungal hits, it might not even matter. He's going to have to pick up and get out of there. But one fungal hits, and this is going to be, I think, a short-lived game. I mean, this is, again, Stephano in a position where this is his game to lose.
He's now taking a 4th base, Wheat, and the 3rd base for Ryung is complete, but he has not moved it down just yet. Those 4 infestors are going to make all the difference in the world. This drop does continue to be a little bit of an annoyance. He's killing creep tumors with it. This is one thing I have to say about Ryung's play is he's been able to multitask these drops so well in all 3 of these games. Hive Tech early on again coming out for Stephano right now, but this time he has an upgrade advantage and a 4th base. Ryung is getting a 2nd factory right now, and that's going to be something that's helpful to him as he gets, but his siege tanks are so late. He doesn't even have siege mode yet.
Yeah.
He has no ability to push. He's got no real push power right now.
I absolutely agree. And if he does decide to, if Stephano does decide to go up here and maybe poke away and attack at this 3rd and force a battle, I don't think it's going to go his way too well. He's still being very mindful of what's happening around his bases. He has spotted a few different things. He sees that the first Vikings are out. He knows about this drop that's still kind of moving around the map, but he has not really chosen to go. And here we got the Lynx finally going into the 3rd, check things out. Yes, indeed. He does see the base up, but doesn't see any sieged up tanks, only sees 2. So he's got to know that he's in a really solid position right now.
Yep, and this next engagement for Stephano is one that, this attack that he's going to make here is one that he might not necessarily need to do, and I think he's only even still considering it now. He's taking control of the watchtowers, and he's like, well, Ryung is so far back right now, I can't even see him with his aggressive watchtower he's taken. So I think this is a great choice for Stephano to be like, all right, if I can catch him on the map, I fight. If he's actually going to be in a defensive position with his 3rd, I won't attack. Great choice to check for that, then pull back here and continue towards that greater Spire Tech.
We did have a drop over here in the far east that was spread out. It looks like he is going to stim. He knows that this base is up. He's just going to fire from the back. Those Zerglings will gladly sacrifice their lives to make sure that the drones are saved, and he's not going to do too much damage with that, but he is aware of that base and knows that Stephano has it up and going. One of these situations now where, well, Ryung just continuing. There we go, the 3, we're up to how many racks, like 8 or not 8? So he's pretty much continuing to go that exact same route that he has been the previous 2 games, but just so behind at this point. Adrenal Glands coming up, +3 is going to be finishing up for the Zerg here fairly soon. We're seeing Infestor here along with this group as well. And, I mean, right now, Stephano has got to be feeling good.
Yeah, he absolutely should. If he's not, he's crazy. Great. Oh, my God.
Wow.
That's not the splitting that we saw from Ryung in Game 1 and Game 2. He just did not expect to see those Infestors there. His units do remain alive, but it was a close call. Will Stephano follow up? It's now, he's down a little bit on supply here. If he has to make this engagement work, he can't half do it, He can't actually sort of commit and then attack. He actually needs to commit or not here. He just decided to wait for the Broodlords. A very intelligent choice. Continuing the harassment, though, is Ryung. Ryung doing such a great job with this drop play. Now he's going to force the units out of position, then come in with a perfect sweep. A great position here for Ryung.
I thought actually Stephano was going to be able to catch that, but yeah, you do not want to let Ryung get behind that base right here. He doesn't have a ton of drones there, so it is almost a bait technique, but here come those Broodlords. Those tanks have to unsiege. This time he might be ready for it, as we do see the Lynx moving forward. He will pull back as the tanks re-siege, but that just allows these Broodlords to do the damage that they need to do. Infested Terrans are throwing out as well, and it looks like Stephano will overcome. However, there's a lot of bio in the back here, and he's not really landed too many fungals.
Yeah, he did not have the fungals he needed right away, but it looks like he is going to have enough just with the Infested Terran firepower as well here to clean up. The micro from Stephano in that engagement was actually, trademark of him being a Warcraft 3 player in the past. I just that was impressive to watch how he pulled his units there. The way he moved his Broodlords forward to bait the Marines to run in and then drop the fungals, drop the Infested Terrans just the right amount and at the right time. Great control of that battle. That's the type of battle that many Zerg players would have actually just lost, but Stephano's control won out that battle for him.
Nice burrowed Lings over here. Make sure this base isn't going to go up. Morphing a few Banelings and, Broodlords, and now is set up over here. Now, there is a nice little chunk of Vikings coming out here, and not that many Corruptors. So he's definitely got to play this one smart. I think that maybe Stephano thought, okay, I just took out that huge army. I'm going to have a nice little opportunity here to possibly carve away the third. But Ryung's not only set up a nice little wall here, with the Vikings out at a good time, he might be able to just delay. And that's honestly what Ryung needs to try to win this game or bring it back in his favor.
He's continuing his drop harassment over on the left side of the map as well. That's just, it's unbelievably difficult for Stephano to deal with his army out of position like this. And he's got a nice defensive position. The problem, though, is if that base, if he does defend this drop, which he will, and continue mining there, it's now 5 bases to 3. That's the big problem. He still has enough resources right now to where it's okay, but he will eventually run out. And this seems to be the tactic for Stephano. He seems to be wanting to mine Ryung out. He's just being aggressive, denying command snares, trading armies really, really cost efficiently. And that's something that Ryung is eventually going to have to worry about. He's got a 4th command snare finishing up here, but he has not been able to take the 30s. Even he stopped the production here. He's not even going to be able to complete that unless he realizes what's going on.
Yeah, that's actually not good. And you just like, that is the longest building command center ever.
Yeah.
One thing I do like with the Ultras coming out, which was something that didn't really work so great for Stephano in game 1. However, the big difference is that there's actually much fewer tanks in this game than there was in that game. That was when we saw Ryung really, really retain a lot of those things. And he catches his group off guard. He's going to stim in a lot of these units, bring them forward, but he's got enough corruptors that he does a ton of damage here to the top. He needs to land some fungals. These tanks aren't sieged up at all. He's just going in for it, and I'm not sure that that was a great decision there by Ryung.
No, it was not. And with all of these Zerglings coming aground with 3-3 and Adrenal Glands, he's going to catch some reinforcements on their way out. This is a great trade for Stephano, now taking a 60 supply lead here. He's actually going to push his advantage all the way to the natural. A great fungal on these Marines, which all were clumped up.
Wow.
And Ryung is all but spent here, Weed. I'm not sure how much longer he's going to stay alive against this Stephano style, man.
I don't think he's staying alive at all. There it is.
GG.
And Stephano does take it after just a little trip in game 1, but really brought it back with the decisive win in game number 2. And game 3, that was exactly the decision, and credit to Apollo for bringing it up and said, Stephano, if he is looking at what Ryung is doing and takes that risk, assumes that it might be the same thing he's going to do, and acted on that.
Yeah.
And not overcommitting really either.
You're right.
A lot of, I think, inexperienced players might have just said, I just did a ton of damage. I'm going up this ramp. Let's finish this game. But no, Stephano pulls back.
Patiently controls the game.
Absolutely.
Patiently controls it. Great play from our French Zerg, just looking so strong. Many consider him to be the foreign hope here.
Yeah.
Looking really, really good in that game. I mean, how he defended the drops, he defended a lot better. I felt like in the 3rd game we saw the final evolution of Stephano, where like he did basically the same builds, but in the 3rd game everything worked out well for him. He had his Broodlords early. He was able to, he was making the Ultralisk Cavern, and he was getting ready to switch into Ultras because he knew his opponent was making only Vikings. He didn't have the economy to make both.
Exactly.
And that was like, that we didn't even get to see that really fleshed out, but he was like already 2 steps ahead of his opponent. But let's take a look at what our analysis think.
What's up, guys?
Well, he covered it pretty well there, honestly, but I loved the early aggression from Stephano and the fact that it was the pressure that set the tone and the pace for the rest of the game. Once he got in there, we'd said it would be run by City. We weren't thinking it would be that intense, considering wonderful position on the Banelings, completely out of the way. I thought there was a risk that perhaps those Banelings got caught, but no, they were just out of range. They come in, crash through it very nicely, and as you pointed out accurately, he then pulls back. You don't make the amateur mistake of going up. You try and get further ahead. You've already got an economic lead. Capitalize on that, which he did very, very nicely. And we always say Stephano holds drops really well. The 2nd game didn't really demonstrate that. The 3rd game, obvious, massive sweeping confidence from him. He had it held down the entire time.
Yeah, Wolf, you were saying that Stephano's kind of the foreigner hope, but so far in this tournament, we've seen foreigners just really turning it up against all the Koreans.
Oh, yeah.
Grubby taking out Oz 2-0 earlier today. I thought that Oz was going to take that 2-0, actually. We just witnessed Thorzane actually falling to Inori in that 2-1 series. Very, very close there in the final game 3.
Oh, yeah.
But we saw Huck actually take out Sleep. So far, foreigners are doing pretty good in a very heavily dominated Korean tournament here with 20 of them, actually.
Yeah, it's good to see, certainly. And I'm interested to see, actually, what some of the Europeans managed to pull off. We already had Soke going through in the first round convincingly against Idra, and now is going to be facing a real test. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and maybe some of the lesser-known European players, how far they'll actually make their way into this tournament. But Stephano gets the dominance that I think everyone wanted, everybody expected, a good start in this tournament, and proving that picking Ryung was not a bad idea at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was something that we talked about in the opening monologue too, is that why? What was his decision behind it? Obviously, Stephano has a comfort level with Zerg versus Terran, but to take out a strong Terran like Ryung, I think that was quite a big accomplishment. If anything is going to set off his confidence for the remainder of this tournament, I'd say that was a ballsy choice that really, really paid off.
Yeah, it's absolutely something that paid off. We saw just not only his confidence in picking Ryung, but in the game, his movements, how he controlled the game, where he was aggressive, where he was not. That was just, I mean, it just showed through.
Nice.
Like, I get it. Like, I see it now. His Zerg versus Terran right now is looking really good.
Looks sharp, even though he wasn't necessarily the favored player in that map-up in terms of win percentage. Something that pretty good. So, JP, what's up?
Well, we actually have some results right now in the bracket. So we are going to see that huge match in round 2. DRG going up against Polt. That is going to be an incredible, incredible match. Everyone, of course, knows DRG against MKP. It's kind of a standard here at the finals at almost every MLG tournament in 2012. Well, now he gets to play against Polt, and we'll see how that match goes. Other results, we see Symbol moving along, taking out the 15-year-old Korean Dream from MVP, and Rain taking out Select in a 2-0.
That's impressive.
Yeah, Lenok taking out Tefel. Not really a big surprise there. Lenok is just a powerhouse Zerg. And as we move down, Hart vs. Huck will be going down in round 2 as well. So now we get to see Huck continue his story of revenge here, taking out, if he can, the second player to knock him out of the MLG Winter Championships earlier this year.